This is the METS Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Clay Holmes may have had his best start of the season. The Mets win, still needing a little bit of help, but game 162 is going to matter. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here live, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed, also live this afternoon, this evening on the Locked On MLB and Locked On Sports Today YouTube channels. I am your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you, recapping all things New York Mets. I'm sure many of you, like myself, nervous going into today, knowing that the Mets needed to win today to even open up any possibilities later on tonight into tomorrow afternoon. And the Mets, that's exactly what they did today.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Staying alive, still in the mix. As we sit here doing the post-game show live, a half-game lead for the New York Mets over the Cincinnati Reds. They will need the Reds to slip up either later on this evening, game should get underway here pretty shortly, or tomorrow in the season finale. They need that and a win tomorrow, but there was a dreaded scenario where the Mets lost this game today, and with the Reds win tonight, it was over. Game 162 would not have meant something. The Mets put out one of their better efforts recently in this game, and just like they've done in two previous seasons in game 161, the broadcast mentioned it a bunch. I saw some people on social media mentioning it as well. John Maine, Johan Santana doing it in game 161 against the Marlins to set up a very critical game 162. It was Clay Holmes today who provided that start, but the Mets will be playing for something tomorrow. Again, still need help, still need the Reds to drop one game here either today or tomorrow, but tomorrow will mean something for the New York Mets. They will play down to the final day of the regular season, still alive for the playoffs. Clay Holmes, the big story in this one. I think considering the moment, considering that Clay Holmes a year ago was a reliever, a closer for the New York Yankees, to meet the moment the way Clay Holmes did today and to give the Mets this outing, I mean, just the ultimate tip of the cap to Clay. Going from being a starter or from a reliever into a starter and to show up every fifth or sixth day for this team, never really needed any time off, threw 160 plus innings when it was all said and done here in the regular season, took the ball every time the Mets asked him to, and pitched as well as he did. I know it was shaky at times, but a reliever becoming a starter, you knew there were going to be bumps in the road. I don't think any of us thought that this would be the season that Clay Holmes could give the New York Mets, and I don't think there were any of us today that thought 6 scoreless, allowing just one hit, was in the cards for Clay Holmes. But credit to him, just filled up the strike zone, generated a ton of ground balls, it was just vintage Clay Holmes. What he did as a reliever, what he did at the beginning of the season for this team as a starter, just filled up that zone, trusted the defense behind him, let them put the ball in play, and just got out of it with ground balls. The broadcast mentioned it. I certainly noticed it during the game. He was using both sides of the rubber at different moments in the game. So I thought that was a nice little wrinkle. And I don't remember seeing that his last couple times out. Broadcast mentioned Steve Gelbs talked about how he had done it in his last start. I don't remember seeing it, but again, any little wrinkle that you can have that can help you go deeper into these games, I love it. And you just love Clay Holmes understood. Clay Holmes knew the pressure of today's game. Clay Holmes knew that if he doesn't deliver a good start for this Mets team, tomorrow doesn't matter. Nothing about tomorrow matters if they don't win today, and he delivered a gem. I think somebody in the YouTube chat mentioned the word gem. I would use that word as well. I mean, he delivered a gem for this team when they needed it. Shout out to the bullpen for doing their job. Zero issue, just to get in front of this, zero issue using Edwin Diaz there in the ninth inning, even though it was a 5-0 lead. They had already had him up. Get these 3 outs. Do not take anything for granted. Just lock it down, get the W, move on to tomorrow. Edwin didn't pitch the night before. He's good to work back-to-back days. I know they've used him a ton. It was a free and easy inning there in the ninth. No problem with that. Get the dub, get yourself into tomorrow. Treat this like it's a postseason game, and the Mets certainly did that. We'll talk about the offense. Pete Alonso providing the spark. The important question, I'm keeping an eye on social media. What's the plan for tomorrow? I have an idea of what I would do if I was sitting in Carlos Mendoza's shoes in his seat. We'll talk about that. Your thoughts also welcome here on the Mets Postcast. We will get to all of it here on the other side. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet's Go Long. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. The process? Simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. FanDuel, NFL season is here. FanDuel making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, whether it's for player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back here, Mets Postcast. The Mets, 5-0 victory over the Miami Marlins. Game 161 in the books. Game 162 will matter for this team. All of us, the biggest Milwaukee Brewers fans in the world here, both tonight and tomorrow, because that is the thing that the Mets are going to need in addition to a win tomorrow. But they did at least make tomorrow mean something by winning this game today. They did so behind Pete Alonso getting things started. He certainly had the spark for this team early. An RBI double got the Mets on the board 1-0. He added a solo home run to make it 2-0. That was the score for a decent stretch of this game. And I'm sure the thoughts were crossing your mind the way that they did my mind. Clay Holmes on the mound. At times, a couple of walks here created a little bit of anxiety for us all. And you're looking up at the scoreboard and you're going, man, it's only 2-0. You feel like you needed some more insurance to feel good about it. The Mets got that insurance, albeit super late in this one with 2 runs there in the 9th to make it 5-0. But it was Pete who provided the spark early, and that was all she wrote for the Mets because they got dominating starting pitching from Clay Holmes. The bullpen shut the door, and now that leads us into tomorrow. The plan for tomorrow, what that will be. Now, we very rarely do this, but keeping an eye on the other screen as Carlos Mendoza meets with the media, because yesterday in the post-game media availability, it's when he shared that Clay Holmes would be starting today. So I'm hoping that by the time we sign off here today, we'll know what the plan is for the Mets when it comes to their starter for tomorrow. Now, since we don't have that information exactly yet, I'll just share what I'm thinking. It's an all-hands-on-deck approach. Let's just make something very clear. Everybody should be available outside of Clay Holmes and maybe Nolan McLean if they want to stay away from him. But other than that, it should be everybody available. To me, the right thing to do of the players that they have left, the pitchers that they have available, I think it needs to be Sean Manaea who starts this game. And if you need to go to somebody early, it's probably Jonah Tong, who's up and ready in the pen, and then you can get into the bullpen. The other reason why I say Jonah Tong is I don't know if you want to go lefty starter into lefty reliever with David Peterson coming into the game. You may want to save David for a spot where there's some lefties in a high leverage spot for 1 or 2 batters if you can. So my gut tells me Manaea starts. Tong is potentially the long man if they need it. If Manaea is able to give them 4 or 5 innings, then I think you're going to see the super bullpen be put out in full force, right? Brooks Raley will get used again. I mean, boy, stuff to keep an eye on. We can blend the 2 segments here. I mean, Brooks Raley has just been incredible for this baseball team all season long since coming back from the injury. Tyler Rogers was great again tonight. Edwin Diaz shut the door. So you look at what they did tonight, this afternoon, and I think that's a very similar path to the way that they want to back their way into the final 9 outs. Diaz in the 9th, Rogers in the 8th, Raley in the 7th. So you got to get through 6. I think Minaya and then some combination of everybody else that they have out there in that bullpen feels like the right way to do this. We'll see. Carlos Mendoza is meeting with the media now. We'll see if he shares any information before we get out of here. But it is going to have to be everybody available for the New York Mets tomorrow if they are going to pull this off. And again, they need some help from the Milwaukee Brewers, but the Mets put themselves in a position to where if they win tomorrow, they get that one slip up from Cincinnati, they will be going to the postseason. I see somebody mentioning Brett Beatty. Brett oblique placed on the injured list. His regular season is done. If the Mets make the postseason, don't think he'd be able to be a part of a wild card series. So his season may be done. Depends on how far the Mets are able to go in the postseason if they are to get there. But they will not have Brett Beatty here for the foreseeable future. It was Ronnie Mauricio in his place. I did think that was interesting that was not Mark Vientos in that spot at third. The broadcast mentioned it. It was Mauricio's first start at third base in 5 weeks. So to put him out there in a must-have game instead of Mark Vientos, I thought was extremely telling from the Mets and from Carlos Mendoza. Great defensive replacement late. I saw Ryan shout this out on social media to put Acuna in the game for defense. Had a couple of balls hit right at him and handled them with ease. So great defensive replacement when the game was still a little bit in doubt. Every out, every pitch mattered. At that point, can't let the Marlins start a rally, so you went for defense, holding on to a 2-3-0 lead. Thought that was a great job there by Mendoza and by Acuna coming into the game. Mendoza, meeting with the media right now, has said that they will announce tomorrow's starter at some point tonight. So my guess is we are not going to have that information by the time you and I sign off here. But before our heads hit the pillow tonight, it's a phrase we've been using a lot here as of late during this playoff run. We will know who the Mets will be starting in game 162 with the season on the line. And I can understand why the Mets may want to just take a deep breath after this game, regroup as not only a coaching staff, but the front office, get together and really just go over to this with a fine-tooth comb what the right game plan is from a pitching perspective for this game tomorrow, 162. And it could be anything. They could use Huascar Brazoban as an opener. That wouldn't surprise me. David Peterson starting would surprise me. I wouldn't love that as a move, but I could see, because it's his spot in the rotation, they could do that. Sean Manaea, I mean, they've got options. And so I'm sure they're going to want to regroup and make that determination together of who's going to start game 162. And obviously, I think they want to pay attention to what happens in Cincinnati, right? They need a loss one of the 2 days. If you get the loss tonight, maybe you get a little bit more. I mean, you're going to need the win tomorrow anyway, so your aggressiveness meter is going to have to be high. But I wonder if there is a wanting to wait and see what happens in Milwaukee tonight with the Cincinnati Reds. But the Mets, they get the job done. It was a quiet night, a couple of walks, but a quiet night for Soto. And I'll tell you this, the thing I'm thinking about going into this game tomorrow is we have seen a lot of these players be in moments similar to this. It was last season against Milwaukee, that Monday doubleheader in Atlanta. We have seen these players come through in these moments. This is not where we thought this team was going to be. This is not where this team should be, considering the talent level that they have up and down the roster, but they are in this spot. And you can say it's fortunately or unfortunately, they are kind of battle tested. They are kind of prepared for moments like this. So you got to go out there. You have to execute. You have to jump on Miami early. Remember, they're not playing for anything. It's the last game of the season. You jump on a team like Miami early, they can be thinking about vacation, be thinking about the offseason. And if you can get 2-3 early runs on the board, you can kind of snowball yourself early momentum, and it can look very similar to the way that it did today. So a fast start is super, super important for the Mets in this game tomorrow. And you've got plenty of guys in that room that understand that. Now, we've watched 161 games of baseball, you and I. We know this team has had flat efforts multiple times throughout the season. They had a flat effort on Friday. So nothing is taken for granted. But with it being game 162, with it being everything on the line, you have to have it. There is no, unless Cincinnati loses both games, there is no amount of help that you are going to have. You got to do it yourself. You got to win a baseball game tomorrow. And so you got to go out there and take it. And from the word go, put up a crooked number in the first and set yourself up for a big, big afternoon. The Reds are going to be playing. Everybody plays at the same time tomorrow. So you're going to be scoreboard watching. Don't tell me you're not. If you're a New York Mets player, I know you're going to be looking up at that scoreboard throughout the course of the game. Part one of the plan, win this game today. Now, part two, root for Milwaukee tonight, root for Milwaukee tomorrow, and the Mets need to get a win tomorrow in the series finale, the season finale. Don't know who's starting. Your guess is as good as mine. The Mets will regroup and try to figure out what their plan is for tomorrow. We will be right back here the moment that game is over, whether it's celebrating the Mets going back to the postseason for a second straight season, or if it is instant therapy because the Mets fall short. We will push that go live button. We will be right here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel to break it all down. The Mets 5-0 winners over the Miami Marlins. Game 162 means something for the New York Mets. They will be still mathematically alive on the final day of the regular season. Clay Holmes, the tip of the cap to Clay for the job that he did today, giving the Mets a brilliant 6 innings of scoreless work to set up this game tomorrow. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we go live here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. You can always listen to us out after the fact on the Locked On Mets podcast feed. But this is your place to hang out after Mets games to have that instant reaction, that instant therapy in some cases. We've had a lot of those sessions here throughout the course of the year. That will do it for us here on the Mets postcast. The Mets will play a meaningful baseball game tomorrow. We will be here to break it all down. Try to breathe, try to relax. Go cheer on the Milwaukee Brewers tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, Mets fans.